Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Mummy Means Business, the podcast. Today, I'm really excited to have a special guest. Obviously, it's not the usual guest that I would have. I usually have mums on the podcast, but today I have a dad. I have a daddy of 3. He's a Christian as well and a husband. He goes by the name of Twinsdaddyndtea on Instagram, where he blogs about all things fitness, fashion, and life as a proud father of twins and a little girl. So I'm really excited to have him today, just to kind of share his life, open up a window to how his life is as a father, and yeah, it'll be good to have him on the podcast. But thank you so much, Yusuf, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to actually be on the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Really delighted.
Thank you. So jumping straight into it, how is fatherhood been for you? Because it's so funny, the last time I saw you, your wife was pregnant with your first daughter, and then now, like, it's not even been 2 years yet, you have 3.
I know, it just even jumping from 1 to 3 was a big shocker. But to answer your question, fatherhood has been challenging, mainly because you aspire to be a great dad, you aspire to be many things. So now living it in real life, it's almost like you're constantly weighing yourself up with where you desire to be as a father, or what you deemed as an ideal father when you were growing up. So you're always matching yourself up to that role model per se. Challenges wise, it's nothing can actually prepare you for being a father, to being a father. Nothing can prepare you for that. It's challenging because you have to not only discipline but love at the same time. You want to be firm enough so you're actually disciplining, but you don't want to be too firm that this child doesn't sense the love in your upbringing. But then you always remember that you need to raise that child up right. Otherwise, it'll be another person in society that isn't playing their part or being exactly what they should be because of the lack of good parenting.
Yeah. And you know what, you said something really interesting when you mentioned, you're almost in a battle with, how your perception of how you wanted to be as a parent when you were young versus how you are now. Because even me, like, you have like an idea of the type of parent you'll be. Like, I really thought I'll be a strict mom. I thought I'll be like a super strict mom. I thought I'll be like, oh my gosh, I beg my husband not to discipline my son. Like, I beg, I'm literally like, tell me off instead. Like, but I think it's a boy thing. I think with mums and boys, they're just more protective. How is it having a girl first? Like, were you more reluctant to kind of be harsher on her or tell her off when she does something wrong because she's like your princess almost? No.
No, I feel like I'm still pretty much the disciplinarian. However, don't get me wrong. Like, Julia can lay down the law when she needs to, but 9 times out of 10, I think because women are more nurturing, their angle is a lot different when it comes to discipline. And obviously because of the differences between man and woman, we're pretty much a bit more to the point. Don't do that. Whereas my wife is more so, oh, don't do that because of this.
Yeah.
It's dangerous, or you don't want to do this, you want to do that. So, the dynamics is pretty much the same.
But now you have 3. Now you had twins. Congratulations. You have beautiful twin boy and girl. They're fraternal twins. Did you always want to have like a big family? Because I think 3 is a big family. Like, I have 1 on the way, and I think 2 is enough. Is having like 3 kids or a big family something that you've always desired?
Initially, it was actually, and not to shock you, but initially I wanted 7 kids.
Imagine.
I remember.
When guys say it, I always think, like, is you're saying 7 kids, like, it's you that's gonna be carrying these 7 kids.
Technically, it takes 2, innit? So I play a role.
Yeah.
So I would say, initially I wanted 7 kids. So I used to joke about it in uni, even when Julia and I met. So she kind of already knew that I always wanted 7 kids. Obviously, she'll say, okay, yeah, not me and you. But yeah, 7 was the initial number. I wanted twins. triplets, a boy and a girl, in that order. And I had it revised down to a T. And then obviously you grow up, and then my 7 decreased to 5. And then from 5, one day I was just like, I want two. I want two. I want two. I want a boy and a girl, and then I'm done. So even when we had our first, Talia, I was just expecting just to have another one. And then just like that, we went from a family of 3 to a family of 5.
So you just wanted one more, and then they were like, God said, ha 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 ha, ha, and He gave you two.
It gave me 2. And the thing is, Julia and I were talking the other day, and she was just like, Yusuf, like, I think God is honoring your first prayer.
It's
And I was like,
true.
no. I said, no, no, no. I said, God, I repent. I repent.
Because you never know, in a few years, she can have triplets. That's what you wanted, right?
Oh man,
Do
no.
you know what?
I hats off to parents that have triplets, because life with twins is not easy. It's not easy at all.
It's crazy because I was talking to a mum of 6, and she said, because I was like, how do you do it? Because I think she was those women that every time you saw her, she was pregnant. Like you never ever didn't see her without like not being pregnant. But she said once you have the second, all the kids after, it becomes really easy. Like it just kind of, they all kind of just fit in, fit in, fit in. And I'm like, yeah, obviously you say that, but not for my body. But definitely not me. I wanted like 5 kids maybe when I was, and even with my husband, I said to him, if you give me one child, you give me 2, because I wanted my kids back to back. I didn't want to like get my life back and get my mentality back and just, you know, be comfortable with who I am, and then get pregnant and have a baby again and go back to that kind of pregnancy, waking up in the morning, all that stuff. So even now, when I was pregnant with my second one, because I saw on your Instagram, I'll never forget, I saw your Instagram when Julia popped the balloon, and I saw 2 balloons. I saw one blue and one pink. I said, yay. I asked the doctor, I said, doctor, how many babies is in my belly? Just tell me. I don't even want to know, like, just tell me how many. She said 1. I said, praise God, praise God, praise God. Because it's so easy to say it, but once you're actually living it, it's something else.
It's totally different. And the thing is, before we went to actually have a scan in the hospital, Julia already had an inkling that it was twins, and she kept on saying, I think it's multiples, I think it's multiples. And I was just like, okay, yeah, cool, we'll see in it. And then we got there and it turned out to be twins, and she always had the hunch. But then when we found out, like when the sonographer actually said, okay, yeah, you guys are expecting twins, it was like, what? Say that again? The thing is, even throughout the duration of her pregnancy, randomly we'll be in the house. I could be ironing, she could be cooking or something, and she'll say, oh my gosh, Yusuf, we're having twins. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, babe, we're having twins. So it never actually fully sunk in. Never actually fully sunk in until, and even on the day when they were born, it's like, oh my days, we've got twins.
Oh God. Well, what's the dynamic like now in your house? Because you're outnumbered now. You have 3 girls with your wife to, you know, just 1 boy, or just 2 boys with including you.
The dynamics. I don't feel like I feel the shift as such yet. Maybe because Talia is still young and the babies are still young. Yeah, we're still outnumbered, but we're still kind of in control, and hopefully we'll stay in control. The blessing is one we're nourishing the twins, but we're actually watching Talia grow as well. And as she's growing, her personality is coming through, and she's the most caring older sibling you could ever have dreamed for so far. Anyways, she's not. There's not really no envy or anything. Well, she hasn't displayed it yet. Anyways, when she comes into a room, she says, "Baby." She's looking for each twin. If she looks for one, she's looking for the other. If they're crying, she'll come to you and say, crying. And you obviously, if you see that she's not crying, that you know she's talking about the twins. If they're crying, she'll try and put their dummy in. She's just really, really hands-on with them. If they're crying, she'll try and carry them, and we're like, oh no.
Yay.
Or when she's playing games with toys and she's feeding mommy and she's feeding daddy, she wants to feed Genesis, she wants to feed Noah, and we're like, babe, their mouths are too small, first of all. And secondly, they're not as strong as you. So the dynamics is pretty much child focused at the moment,
Yeah.
but it isn't overwhelming sometimes. Well, it's overwhelming sometimes, but not all the time.
Well, that's something you're nervous about, like how she will react to, especially bringing home not just one baby, but two babies. Because obviously, a lot of children who have been used to being by themselves sometimes go through, the jealous kind of envy phase, like you mentioned. Was that something that you were anxious about before bringing the twins home?
It definitely was, especially because a lot of people unknowingly tend to be a bit negative when they hear you're having twins. Obviously, there's the excitement, oh my gosh, you're having twins. But 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh my days, I wouldn't want to be you. Or, good luck on your first one. Your first one's going to wild out. Rather than them making an opportunity to be like, okay, do this and this and this and this, so your child doesn't feel left out. It's more so, oh, I wouldn't want to be you. Oh, thank God it's not me kind of thing. So, Julia and I were very, very much in the moment, and we wanted to make sure that in nothing that we did Talia feel left out. So we bought her toys whenever we were buying toys for the twins. We bought her a toy for when the twins were born, and we said, this is for the twins. They got you this. What else did we do? We just made her very involved in the process so that she felt a part of the process as opposed to, on my days it was only me and now there's two new babies kind of thing. We got her books that talked about being an older sister. We got her books that showed older kids interacting with babies, and it just kind of geared her up for the moment. So when she saw them, don't get me wrong, when she saw them, she was a bit like, okay, why are you guys crying? Like, she was looking at them like, why are you crying? First of all, and secondly, like, okay, you've got that, you're in that hand and you're in that hand, so where am I supposed to sit kind of thing. And it was just pretty much just keeping her close in the process so she felt a part of it, because sibling rivalry is very, 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 very real, and you just have to just try and make sure you eliminate that as early as possible and make sure that they understand that they're a part of the love, as opposed to they have a little section in your heart that they get access to here and there.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's actually really good for me to hear, because this is something that I'm going to be experiencing in the next few months. I have a girl come in, and even now, thank you, my son Xavier, he can kind of tell that my belly's getting bigger. So like he likes to jump on my belly now, like he wants to jump on my belly, or he'll hit my belly, or he's now becoming a lot more moany and like crying and needy, but he just wants mummy rather than daddy. So it's something that probably I need to start implementing now, actually, because before you know it, this baby will just come and then he would just be looking at me like, you didn't even warn me or prepare me. I tell you.
Another thing you can do is get Xavier to talk to your tummy and say, oh, say hello to baby, say hello to baby. So they have that interaction, even though obviously baby's not responding yet, but they have that interaction before the baby actually comes. Say hello to baby, oh, baby saying good morning, baby saying good night kind of thing. And there's that level of interaction. So when baby comes and you're like, look, this was the baby that was inside.
That
It's
you were
just
saying
like,
hello to.
oh, so that you're saying hello to.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna, you know what? From this podcast, I'm gonna go and do it because this kid needs to. Because I already know that my son's definitely gonna have that envy or like that needy, or that yeah. Oh my gosh, he's no. Do you know what? You'll be surprised. He's actually a daddy's boy, but he just gets so jealous if me and my husband hold any other children. If we hold any other children or hug any other children or just say hi to any other children, like he really gets annoyed. But he loves kids himself, like he loves other kids, but he just doesn't want us to love kids the way we love him, basically, which is yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But how was it? How did the dynamic of having, now you have three kids, how has that changed your relationship with your wife? Obviously, Julia's a warrior. Because she had three kids in the space of 2 years.
Yeah.
Basically. And she still looks amazing. She's still doing, like, you wouldn't even know that she's even popped these kids out. So like, how has that made you kind of see her in a different way? Like, how's that dynamic changed in your marriage?
How I see her, let me answer that first. So initially, after the first child, I was just like, oh my days, women are superheroes. It's like, I don't know how you do it. Da, 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 da. And then after the birth of the twins, like Julia's bounce back from the birth of the twins was a lot quicker than the birth of Talia. She had the twins, and like 15, 20 minutes later, she was standing up and walking to her ward that she was going to be. And it's just like, oh my days, how are you moving so quickly? Is everything moving so swiftly? How are you so strong? How are you so... Maybe it's because you've done it. Maybe it's because women have done it before. There's that level of determination. You know how it goes, and you just pretty much want to get back on your feet and get back into a routine. Because obviously, when you're in your house and when you're in a hospital, and you have these nurses coming in and out, you don't really feel like you have control. And maybe when you're in your setting, your home, you then feel like, okay, cool, I can get on with this. Maybe that was her mindset in the time. But yeah, I feel like that even made me even see her even more, made me acknowledge more of her strength. Not that I didn't acknowledge her strength before, but it just made me see a new dynamic, a new level to the strength that she had. And it was nice because you know how you can tell some people that you're very strong, you're very determined, you're very willed, you're very strong-willed. But if they don't see that and if they don't act on that, you're a bit like, oh, I wish you could see what I see. But to see her acting in her power, in her strength, in her strong in her strength, it was like, okay, wow, this is amazing. Let's keep on pushing. Dynamics wise in our marriage, I would say it's highlighted that you just have to be more intentional. Like you have to be so much more intentional. Mainly because obviously you have the twins who are either crying at the same time or crying one after the other. Like one after the other continuously, or one is fussing, but at the same time you're dealing with the twins and you have to manage the toddler who wants to climb into the washing machine, or who is eating makeup or who is doing something that they shouldn't be doing. So you have to be more alert, and because everything is happening at the same time, you can get lost in it just being about the kids. So you just have to be intentional. One of the things that we did was we got Talia back into a sleep routine. So essentially we start preparing for bedtime around about 5, 6, and she's asleep by 7, which means that from 7 onwards, that's adult time. Yes, the twins are still awake and they'll still feed her and there, but technically Talia is down and she doesn't wake up until the next morning. So she's down, and that's our time to bond, bust joke. And sometimes it doesn't even necessarily have to be something deep, like you saying, oh, look into my eyes, how have you been feeling? It could just be you're both chilling, you're both even on Instagram self, you're saying, oh my days, check this out, oh my days, check this out. But it's that moment to kind of just have a bit of woosah and just kind of just bounce off of each other's energy, really. But if you don't try and put that in place, you'll just get lost. You'll get lost in it all.
Yeah, but you know, that's the most important thing as well. And that's something that we even learn from once we put my son into like a good sleeping pattern. We had so much time to ourselves, like that whole like 7 to 11 period. It might seem short, but it seems long, because it's like you don't have to worry about a child, don't have to worry about a crying child, you don't have to worry about changing nappies, you don't have to be like, okay, you take him, let me go to the toilet, or let me cook or whatever. It's just you and your partner, and you can still have that bonding time. And it's really important to do it regularly. Like before, when my son used to sleep in our room, he got so used to just us being around constantly that when it was his time to go to sleep, we would just go to sleep and he would just climb in our bed, and then it'll be just us. And it's like we never had that time
I agree.
for us. It was just me, Dio, and Xavier. And you know, it's even nice to hear it now that, you know, even now you have newborns, that the dynamic hasn't changed, that you kind of have to be consistent and still have some alone time with your partner to kind of keep sane almost. and not just talk about
no,
24/7.
For real. Now it's one of those things. It's like, okay, even let's say, because my work pattern ensures that I have some days off sometimes during the week, and I don't work weekends. So it's just like, if we've been at home and I've put Talia through her paces, we've done painting, we've done We've done quite a few things, and it's just like, okay, cool. Okay, 6 o'clock, you are coming, you are coming, you are coming. Then 6 o'clock comes, okay, oh yeah, eat. Okay, cool. Come on, bath. Let's read
Yeah.
our story. Let's read.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've prayed. Okay, cool. Night. And then it's just like,
Literally, the relief.
tell me about it.
Oh gosh. But you mentioned now that you work. Obviously, you're a key worker, and we're going through a crazy time right now with COVID-19. How do you feel like any dad guilt going to work, especially during this like crazy times, or even in general, like when you were going to work before this madness happened? Do you ever feel guilty leaving like your kids? Because I know mums have this mum guilt, especially returning back to work after maternity leave.
Yeah, definitely. I feel mum guilt, dad guilt, husband
Oh.
guilt, spousal guilt, all kinds of guilt. Because like you said, like I'm a radiographer, so I work frontline. Um, and it's crazy, especially because 9 times out of 10, a lot of the management don't really know what they're doing. And obviously that's only because the government is changing guidelines here and there, or something is new, or something is changing, something is adapting. Um, and so far, I can't lie, it feels like we haven't actually been the priority. Fair enough, people are getting sick, but we are the people that are looking after these sick people. And I don't feel like we are being prioritized in this process. Um, I feel like the focus is on patients. The focus is on patients, but it's not on us. We don't have the equipment and stuff that we need. So that makes us anxious. Well, made me anxious. I would come home, watch the news, seeing these different people dying, saying this is not enough, or this is happening here, or this is happening there. A doctor has died, a nurse has died. We are on the front line. We're not being tested, and it's like, okay, GPs have closed. My twins haven't had their immunizations. I'm coming out on the front line, going on trains, coming to work, and I'm not going to be tested. And by the time I do potentially start showing symptoms, if I show symptoms, I will have already given it to my wife and my kids. So it's like it was worrying, and to a point where I was actually considering taking unpaid leave, just so I could wait until everything died down. But obviously, in the kind of society we have, and the fact that they don't actually know when things are going to rectify, is taking unpaid leave really the best route? So as a man trying to provide, you're balancing all these different factors, all these different things in your head, and then it's coming back home, and then Talia runs to the door to greet me like she always does, but then having to not ignore her, but say hi, but at the same time try and avoid her so I can quickly take a shower, freshen up, and then come down and then greet everybody properly. And it's just not wanting the family to feel neglected, and knowing that they're more important than my job, but at the same time knowing that the job still carries a level of importance, because that's what's paying your bills and keeping clothes on everybody's back. But yeah, it's been a very trying time, but we stay faithful.
Yeah, but it's crazy to hear it from someone who's in the front line, because even like my mum's a nurse as well, and my mum has underlying health issues, and she's literally on the ward constantly looking after, COVID patients. That's her role. Like everyone on her ward has coronavirus, and I so badly want to be like, as a child, you just want to be like, oh God, just bless me financially that I can just pay her bills so that she doesn't have to go to work. And the same thing for my mother-in-law, exactly the same thing, because she works in the hospital looking after patients as well. And it's like, you don't want it to be you. You don't want it to be now is your family that this is happening to, because
Yeah,
they're doing that, they're kind of responding to the call, doing their best to help all these patients, but they're not getting the help and the responses themselves. And you see on Instagram, like doctors coming from work, coming home, and their kids running to them, and like they're almost in tears because they can't give their kids the love or the affection straight away. They have to, like what you said, kind of take off their clothes, wash it, have a wash before they can hug or kiss their wife or hug their children. So It's a crazy time, but we'll definitely keep you and your family in prayer, man. I'll definitely keep you in
Yeah.
prayer. But yeah, on a lighter note, you're a very hands-on dad. You're very hands-on, and I see you all the time exercising with your twins, and your daughter's getting involved, or like you read to
Technically,
her.
they just interrupt. To be honest,
Okay.
they just interrupt my work. They just interrupt my workout.
So you don't want them you're trying to do it by yourself, but they're like, no, no. But that's the life of being a father now. You can't do anything by yourself
Exactly.
anymore. No, no, no.
Exactly. You can't even eat Haribo by yourself.
No, oh
All
my
the,
gosh.
you can't do anything by yourself anymore.
Do you know the rapper? I don't know. There's something about kids' ears that is so sharp to rappers. When they hear anything that has that rapper like sound, all of a sudden their head is up. Like, okay, what are you eating? What are you eating? What are you eating?
Trust me, they move. They hear something and they look at you like, so what you got for me?
Yeah, literally.
So, and my daughter will literally just stand there and watch you like, okay, when you're ready, you'll bring it out in it.
Oh, well, your daughter is even good. My son says, it comes to me, says, Mama, 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 takes me to the kitchen and points to the cupboard where all the biscuits are. Says,
Oh
that's
yeah,
what
she
I
does
want.
that now as well.
That's what I want. It's too much. But what would you say is the best parenting advice or like tip that you've ever received? I know that's like a massive question, because even I'm thinking like, I don't even know what the best
I think it sounds
parenting
cliche. I think it sounds cliche, but I would say one that I heard quite a bit was enjoy the moment. And at the time when your child has colic and is crying through the night, or they have cradle cap and you don't want their hair to fall out, or they're crying and you don't really know the dynamics of how to handle a baby, you're stressing. There's a potential that so many things could go wrong. You don't know whether you're doing it right in the moment. Someone telling you enjoy the moment, you're like, which kind of foolish moment are you telling me to enjoy? Like, are you for real? Like, I'm stressing out and you're telling me to enjoy the moment. But the thing is, it's really a this too shall pass moment, because it really, really goes very, very quickly. Like, my daughter is going to be 2 at the end of this, in November. And it's like, what? Already? Like, just the other day, we came home from the hospital and they were like, she was like, with 2 weeks, in about 2 weeks, she started talking and making sounds. It was like, oh my days, is it normal for them to be making noise this early? It's like, and then before you knew it, she was 6 months. Before you knew it, she was 8 months. Then she was a year old. Like, it really goes very, very quickly. Another thing I'll say is just take pictures, take videos, because those are the things you look back on. I think that's the best parenting advice I've got.
And you know, that's actually the best parenting advice, full stop, because I have the same thing with my son. Sometimes me and my husband don't even remember life of when he was a baby. Like, we fully don't even remember like what we were doing when he was a newborn. I don't remember the sleepless nights anymore, or like the call. I don't remember any of that, but I know it happened. But it's like my brain is, I can't go back to it. And even like, we don't even remember life with when I was pregnant with my first son. Like, all of that goes so quickly. And the same, like, my son's going to be 2 at the end of the year. And it's crazy to even think, like, even watching him develop, watching him say new words, or watching him even learn how to like climb onto the sofa, or seeing him like jumping and smiling when he hears certain songs. It's just thinking like, oh my gosh, before you know it, they'll be 18 and they'll leave you.
Trust me, like, you're busting 1, 2 moves, just like learning new words. Like, I remember the first time I turned off, I think we went to church and she had just stayed the night at her grandma's. So when we went to church and they turned the lights down, you know how they turned the lights down to make the announcement? Yeah. She registered that as bedtime. So she said, night, and everybody started laughing. And it's like, they grow up so quickly, learning all these new words and just seeing their character come through. It's just amazing. And if you don't document that and you don't enjoy the moment and you're just fixated on so many other stuff, you'd be surprised that you will have missed a lot by the time you actually come round to it.
Yeah. I think from the moment my son was born till now, all the pictures I have on my phone is of him. Like, I have thousands of pictures.
Are you one of those obsessive moms that take like bare pictures?
Do you know what? It's not even that I'm obsessive. It's kind of like what you said. You know, when you're on the train, or like when you're at work, or when you're not around them, you know, people scroll on Instagram. I just look at all their baby pictures and videos and like just smile and stuff. So I almost want to have all of this stages documented, so that I don't like I don't forget. So when I'm forgetting, I don't remember when he was this small, I can actually go back to when he was 6 months and look at that video and be like, oh, okay, I remember. But my husband is definitely an obsessive video picturer, taker. He has it ready for anything that boy does. So when he's climbing up the stairs, it will be recording. But I love it.
Oh,
but yeah, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been great having you. It's even been educational for me. Sometimes I forget I'm having another child, or I need to start thinking ahead, like what you're doing. I'm gonna get books of him being a big brother, start teaching him to talk to the baby. But yeah, it's been so great having you.
Thank you for having me. It's been delightful.
Of course. And thank you all for listening to the podcast. You can access it on Spotify, on SoundCloud, on Podbean, and on Apple Podcasts. Remember to subscribe so you can get a notification anytime a new episode is released. And yeah, thank you all. Speak to you soon. Bye.